Hello friends, today we're talking about the mistakes people make in bathrooms when they do renovations. And you know, these stupid thresholds that appear, small pieces of tile trimming. Or when clutter is in the bathroom, jars are everywhere. This also happens due to mistakes made in the design that there wasn't enough space. But let's go into more detail about everything. Let's start with the first point. It's tile layout. First point, tile layout. Often the tile layout is done so that the tile seam on the wall does not match the seam on the floor. A good option is when your seams on the floor and on the wall match. Plus, take care that the line of furniture, for example, you have a built-in wardrobe and you have a separation at the top of this built-in wardrobe. It should also match the tile. Or the second option, when you have small trimmings, they appear on the left and on the right. Usually this happens because the tile layout is not thought out. They didn't take care of it in advance, didn't draw it on paper. Plus, builders usually find it easier to lay out tiles from one edge. And when you lay out the tile from one edge, you have a small piece left and they cut it off and deliver it. It turns out much better if you do the layout from the center to the left side and to the right side. Then the suspensions will be even. And everything will look along the line of symmetry. Another very good advice when you do tile layout, not from the bottom of the floor up, but from the top of the floor down. Usually when we enter the bathroom, we don't look down, we look up. And in general, lower objects cover the tile. So a small trimming at the bottom will not be visible, and a small trimming at the top will be visible. It will look ugly. The next problem arises with freestanding bathtubs. It's very beautiful when you lie in your own freestanding bathtub, but very impractical. From the point of view, when you shower, you have splashes everywhere. Therefore, freestanding bathtubs should only be installed when you have space for a separate shower cabin. You get out of the bath and go rinse off in the shower, in a shower cabin, then it works. Plus, there is such a moment when freestanding bathtubs are put in a small apartment, very small distances from the bathtub to the wall, from the back of the bathtub to the wall, and it's absolutely inconvenient to clean. They also don't make slopes when they make a freestanding bathtub and don't make a trap in the floor. The perfect option when you install freestanding bathtubs, you should also make a trap in the floor, so all the splashes that fly from this bathtub, they then conveniently flow down the slope into this trap. There is a big problem with classic bathtubs with legs. They have 4 legs, they are screwed into the bathtub, and usually a freestanding bathtub, it moves a little. And this micro movement, it can unscrew this leg. And when you have 3 supports, a person stands in the bathtub, they can fall and hit very hard. And the second point with freestanding legs, this is when you have a large mass of the bathtub water and the person lying in this bathtub. All this mass is distributed over 4 supports. And if a special embedding is not made under the tile, then at the junction of this support and tiles, a crack may occur. So when you make freestanding bathtubs on legs, think about the embedments that will be under the tile to hold this load. The next point is to use glossy tile on the floor, not intended for floor covering. There are 2 main mistakes here. The first mistake, from a practical point of view, it is very slippery. You can slip very badly. And the second principle, if you make wall tile on the floor, it is not intended for the loads that press on it, and it can also crack. Therefore, when choosing a tile, always ask the seller what kind of tile it is, floor or wall. You need to choose floor tile for the floor, and it's better to choose a matte tile so that it doesn't slip. The next problem is communications. Often when making a bathroom, they do not think about where these communications will go. For example, sewage pipes. And you get these ugly thresholds because the pipe, it has a diameter, it can be 20 centimeters, it can be 10 centimeters. And these centimeters need to be hidden in the wall. In a concrete wall, you will not groove a large pipe. Therefore, they often make wall extensions. The same problem exists with built-in mixers. For example, you want to make a built-in mixer in the shower cabin so that you do not have a shower head and these pipes from the mixer to the upper head. You need to lay these pipes in the wall, and it is clear that the water pipe is not very large. It goes there 2 centimeters. But the mixer has a depth of embedding and it can be up to 10 centimeters. So always think about where your communications will go and which walls you will build up for these communications. And always read the technical documentation for the mixer. That is, it is necessary to look at the design stage what kind of mixer you will have. And for this mixer, you will need to think about building up the wall, or think about where you will groove into this wall. Friends, and the inconvenient location of the mixer, I have a big question here. How do I need to turn on this mixer so as not to get wet? I probably need to be very fast. Guys, the correct location of this mixer, it should be here so that you can adjust the water, open this water and not get wet. And now guys, how will I close this? Look what happens, it's just a disaster. The next problem arises with a new solution. Warm walls. Remember this snake on which you can dry towels, socks, underwear, and everything else? Towel dryer. And instead of a towel dryer, you can make a warm wall, that is, sew a warm floor in the wall. But there is a problem. When we sew up the warm floor, we do not understand where the connection of this warm floor goes. Especially if you did not photograph all this when this warm floor was made. Where the wires come from the bottom or from the top, how this warm wall is located at all. And when you hang hooks for towels, you can accidentally hit a cable. When you hit a cable in a warm wall, your warm wall stops working. You need to regroove all this, climb in, pull out, and install again. Big problem. Therefore, when you make a warm wall, definitely think in advance where these hooks will stand, on which towels will hang, place them on the project. Shower cabin and standing water in the tray. Well, first of all, shower cabins are already out of fashion. We don't make them. We make cabins in a construction performance when you have the cabin itself, the tray itself, made of tiles. But if you do not think about the correct slope of this tile, then instead of a shower cabin, you will have a lake. Nobody likes a lake, especially when it is always there. Dirt accumulates there and the water does not go away, it's also slippery. To avoid this, you need to think about the slope of the tile. Moreover, the slope of the tile should go to the trap. And it often happens on one side they make a slope and on the other side they forget. Well, like the water will go anyway. And then in this corner between the traps, this little gap accumulates water and does not go anywhere. It needs to be either mopped or it stands there and spoils. See friends, here this gap is a trap. It turns out the slope is made from this point to this point. The water drains there and goes this trap. So think about the slope, consult with builders who do what slope is needed for the water to drain. Don't forget about this. The next problem that can occur with a cheap trap, it needs to be serviced, it needs to be cleaned. Women's hair often clogs up in this trap and you need to provide access to it so that you can open and clean it. Here, see this last piece of tile. And it turns out this is a revision. That is, you can open this thing with a special suction cup and clean the blockage that occurred in the trap. So also think about how you will service this trap. Continuing the topic of access hatches, they need to be provided under the bathtub, under the sink, and everywhere where you have a connection to the sewage pipe. Because the same hair, the same dirt can clog up and you will need to open the bathtub, get a plumber in there, unscrew the sewer pipe, drain and clean it. Access to this needs to be made. Moreover, access should be quite convenient. There are cool baths. They already have taps. Usually these taps are, such wavy ones. These wavy, ugly ones. Buy flat, smooth taps and then you will just have a peaceful bath. And such a screen and then the tile will already lie. And of course, the second option, when you make a wall out of tiles and there is a press-in hatch of drywall made on it on which the tile is glued. And you have access to your drain. The next problem is visual noise when you enter the bathroom and there is a large number of these shelves, jars. This honestly is very annoying. Why does this happen? When you enter, you see open shelves. Therefore, it is better to place open shelves on the wall where our door is located. Then they are not in direct visual contact. It is better to place closed storage systems near the mirror opposite the doors. Plus, if you need open storage systems near the mirror, there is a way when you make such a wall. On the side of it, there are shelves. And this wall, it sticks out a little. So you have a niche that's open, but it's quite deep and you can't see these little jars. And I won't even start talking about the insufficient storage space. It's definitely insufficient here. And finally, I want to talk about the kitschy materials. When you come into the bathroom, you see this tile with little dolphins on it and you just want to buy it. Also, a small one. Small format, all colorful, right? Please don't buy, firstly, small tiles. Try to buy larger ones. Without dolphins, please. It's better to buy bathroom tiles that resemble natural materials or are made of natural materials. In our projects, we try to use natural materials and a large format. We didn't manage to use a large format here, but this you see is natural stone. A natural stone always looks firstly more expensive and secondly it will never lose its trendiness. And you see we try to make it one big monolithic wall. Therefore the joint that is between the tiles, we want to minimize it and also match it to the color of the tiles so that everything blends into a single space. Of course there are exceptions to everything, but all these exceptions need to be thought through in advance. Together with a designer. A good designer can make your room both comfortable and beautiful and visually larger. And make it so that these tiny jars don't lie around and don't catch the eye of the person who enters this bathroom. Therefore, friends, the best way to make a good bathroom is to turn to a good designer, architect, or design studio. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave your comments. It's important to us. We love to discuss with you, and it's important for the YouTube algorithm so that this video is promoted and is useful to other people. See you in the next videos. Thank you for your attention. Bye-bye.